Hello teachers and welcome to my channel. So if you are new to teaching, this is the place to be. So on my channel, I'll be sharing videos on different teaching methods, how to deal with students, and how to be a better teacher. So now I'm going to go over some things to include on your lesson plan or some tips. Let's go. So when it comes to your classroom, you could seat your students in whichever way you'd like. You could seat them all in rows. Well, it depends on the number of students. It depends on the size of your class. When it comes to exam time or quiz time, they'd sit in rows. You can sit them in pairs for activities. But what I found to be the most effective for classroom management and for cooperation is I've grouped my students. So I group my students in 4 or 5. So if I have 20 students, I'd have 5 groups of 4 students. For me, groups are easier to manage. You can give them activities and they'd help each other out. I usually group my students according to their ability. So I'd have heterogeneous groups. What is that? That is when you have a mixture of higher level and lower level students. So if I have 4 in a group, I'd have 2 higher level and 2 lower level. This is obviously so that they could help each other and they can learn from each other. Now, another method is that you group all the higher level students together in one group, and then you have lower levels in one group. This is so that when you give them activities, you cater for their specific needs. And you want to give them some worksheets to practice. What you would do is you would give the normal worksheet to middle level students. You'd give an advanced worksheet, or you'd give a worksheet that has more work to do to the advanced learners. Why? Because they usually end earlier or they end quicker. They are fast finishers. So they would finish quicker than the others and they'd be bored. They won't know what to do. So you need to make sure you cater to them by giving them extra activities or more difficult activities. And then obviously you have your lower level students. You'd give them something more basic but still challenging enough for this lesson. And you would spend your time walking around the class, seeing who needs help. And you probably spend most of your time with the lower level groups. Now, another important thing is that we have varied activities. We make sure that students are working in different ways. So we can have some activities where students would work in groups. And this can also be competitions. It could be any type of activity actually. But it's just for cooperation and for them to help each other. Then we have pair work, obviously 2 people, where they would help each other and try to solve whatever problems you have given them. And then you also have individual work, where you test the student's individual capacity if he's understood the concepts that we've learned today. Also, when you give activities, make sure you tell students how much time they have for these activities, so that when they do it, they know how fast they need to go. You need to monitor the students. Monitor is when you walk around and you check if anyone needs help with anything. Also, you're also checking if they are on track and that they're behaving themselves while they're working as well. Because sometimes, actually most times, there are some students that are not paying attention, they're playing with something, they're fiddling, they're fidgeting, or they are not doing what they are supposed to do, or they're not doing it in the way that you wanted them to do it. It also gives you time to check if there are any issues, and then you can go back to the front of the class and make an announcement. Hey guys, we are actually supposed to be doing this and not that. So it's very important to monitor your class. When it comes to assessment, you have 2 types of assessment. You've got formative assessment and summative assessment. Summative assessment is when you're talking about exams, so end of semester exams or end of year exams, like big things to check their level. But then when it comes to formative assessment, these are the little ways of you seeing the student is progressing and how they are progressing. So how do you check if a student understands something? You can give them a worksheet, a practice, some questioning. You can also give them like a Kahoot, an online Kahoot, or Plickers. It's just checking understanding for that day or for that lesson. Formative assessment, quick check if they understand. Summative assessment is when we check their understanding for the semester or for the term or for the year. That's summative assessment, and that will be graded. Now, it's also very important to have feedback sessions in your class. So when you've given them a worksheet, something to do, when the time is up, we'd say, hey, time's up, and it's time to check our answers. Now, there are many ways you can get the answers from the students or to check that they've understood. So one way is that you can put the answers up on the board and say, hey, the other answers, check. So they'll check what they have and what you have on the board and see what's right, what's wrong, like that. You could also have pair correction, where you'd say, okay, give your worksheet to your partner, and you'd swap and they would mark like that, but you would put it on the board. You could also elicit the answers from them verbally. What's number one? What's number two? Like that. And then you can tell, yes, well done. Don't forget to praise them. If they get it right, always praise. Praise the students. Well done. Good job. So in my class, I also like to make use of discussions. So I'd put a board in the class. Hold on. Sorry. So I'd put a question on the board and I'd ask the students to discuss the question. I'll give them a minute. And then after the minute's up, I would have an open discussion and elicit from the students what they discussed. Don't forget to elicit when you are teaching. We always elicit from the students. We try to get the answers from them without telling them, right? We don't spoon feed the students. Another thing I like to do in the class is have competition. You could have group competitions, you could have pair competitions, but most of the time I do an activity close to the end of the class where it's almost like a form of reward. So I'd have some type of activity that they do in groups. Maybe I'd give them like a word search or some riddle they need to solve, or just something fun to be like the highlight of the day for that class. And then I'd give them instructions. I'd give them a time to do it. And then I'd also tell them that the winner or group, the first group to finish would get this, and the second group to finish would get that. So obviously you need to think about how you could reward them. You think of something creative to be able to reward your students, but they love competition. I don't have to say this, but you must use technology in the class. Why? We as teachers need to show that we are moving with the times. Students are on their phones daily. They're on their computers. They're on their Apple iPhones and iWatches and if you call it iPads. They are using technology all the time, and we need to adapt ourselves, and we need to also make sure that we use technology. So we can use apps in the classroom like Kahoot, Quizlet. We'd also use videos and things like that. But there are many things, and if you'd like more information on what type of apps or software we can use to help enhance our teaching, again, I'll make a video for that and I'll post it down below in the description. So at the end of the lesson, we have to review the lesson. Like I mentioned earlier, when I spoke about the objective, you need to review the lesson and ask them, what did we learn today? Give me some examples. Ask them a question or two, whole group questions, individual. You'd ask some of them individually as well to explain some concepts. Ask them maybe some yes/no questions as well. But you need to review what we've learned today and then point them to the objective just to tie that together. So I believe that a lesson plan is a guide, and I believe this is only a guide that you should follow loosely. I don't believe that you should follow a lesson plan T for T in every single aspect and in detail. The reason is because if you follow this in detail, you might come across some challenges that you didn't prepare for. So for example, if you put 3 minutes for a certain activity and the activity is taking longer than expected, or the students are taking long to understand the instructions, this might throw you off your whole plan, your whole lesson plan, and your timing will be thrown out. And as a result of this, you'd get frustrated and annoyed, and obviously this will affect your whole lesson. So I believe that you shouldn't follow it in detail. You should just follow it loosely. Have a guide of the most important things you would like to do in your class. Sometimes you might have to skip through or shorten things or lengthen things, all depending on how your students receive the information. So if you do come across any challenges, you should be flexible and adaptable. You should, like I mentioned, you can lengthen some activities. Maybe you see that the students are really having fun with this activity and they are learning in the process, or they're cooperating, or they're doing teamwork, and it's turning into a competition. It's a fun learning experience. Maybe you could lengthen that and maybe shorten some of the other boring things. Maybe get rid of the video that you were planning to play. So there are many things you can do, but just know that you need to be adaptable and flexible in your class and don't follow the lesson plan to the T. If you like this video and you found value in it, please don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. This obviously helps the algorithm pick me up and show my videos to more people out there like you. So yeah.